Guys, what is going on? It is Collecting at Midnight episode 2. For those of you who thought that this would never happen, here it is, episode 2. This is the low-key conversational video for Serial at Midnight, where we just sit around and we talk about stuff that we've picked up, movies, DVD acquisitions, music acquisitions. Just shoot the breeze, just hang out, chill out. Long form, conversational, pauses for refreshment. Just hanging out, just you and me. So, how are you? What's going on? I feel like I'm doing a live stream, even though I'm not. Here's my impersonation of every live stream ever. Hey, Rob. Rob20546. Hey, it's good to have you. Hey. Oh, thank you for that. Thank you. Jane260, thank you. I appreciate that. Are we live? It's every live stream. That's how it goes. Thank you. So what's going on with you guys? You've been collecting physical media. In the time since the last video that I've put up, or the last Collecting at Midnight, in the time since Collecting at Midnight episode 1, I've done a video, Let's Talk About Greta Van Fleet video. It's a band that I want to see go to some good places, so I thought I'd do a video about it, and we've picked up a lot of subscribers off of that video. So if any of you guys are watching this video, and you came here from the Greta Van Fleet thing, things you should know. 1, this channel is all about physical media. It's all about collecting DVDs, Blu-rays, CDs, vinyl. It's about the tangible factor. It's also about just celebrating the things that we love. There's not a lot of snark here. There's not a lot of irony or unwelcome, no hostility. There's not a lot of that going on here. So hopefully that's cool with you. That's what we're about here. So I guess we'll just kick it off here. I've had yesterday I had a fantastic thrift store run. Ducked into a Salvation Army with my wife, and I feel like somebody who's roughly my age, later 30s, had donated their entire DVD collection. Not a lot of Blu-rays, but a lot of DVDs, and they're all from like the late 90s, early 2000s. And I picked up some stuff that I didn't have that is not on Blu-ray. There are no high definition options for it outside of streaming. Some of them there are, but let's see. We'll just jump right into it. I picked up this up. This was sealed. This is Ringers. I used to have this DVD. See, a lot of what we're going to talk about today are things that I used to have. But, in the earlier days of DVD, pretty much up until a couple of years ago, if you really wanted a new release, cash was low or whatever, you could always do like a trade 5-for-1 kind of a thing. And I don't even want to think about how many DVDs I've lost to 5-for-1 trades for things that weren't even worth it. You'd pay $25 or $20 for a DVD, and then the new hotness would come out and you'd be like, oh, I really want that. I'm not going to watch these other movies, so I'll just take these in and I'll trade them for that one movie. It's a terrible deal. I don't do it anymore. So this is one of them that I used to have. I liked it. It's hosted by Dominic Monaghan, I believe is how you pronounce his name, from Lord of the Rings. This thing is like 14 years old, you guys. I don't even know how to deal with this. Okay, it's 2005. So I feel super old because I remember picking this up when it was brand new. Anyway, this was sealed. Somebody had donated this, still sealed. I took some pictures. I may run them over this. I may not, because editing, am I right? Like, who wants to do that? It's a good movie. I'm glad I picked it up. Okay. An American Werewolf in Paris. Now, American Werewolf in London is like this what would you even say? It's like the standard by which werewolf movies should be judged. John Landis, comedy, horror, fantastic movie. But in the late 90s, I think this is 98. Let's see. It does not say, but I believe that it's 98, possibly 99. But I saw this in the theater I believe opening day, because I was all about opening day when I was a young man. And I was convinced that that this was a much better movie than An American Werewolf in London. Convinced. Couldn't have told me otherwise. I was like, well, yeah, but that movie's like, special effects are kind of dated. This movie's CG. It has a soundtrack by Bush, which we might get back to in a little bit. Tom Everett Scott from That Thing You Do. Julie Delpy. I was in on this movie. I was all in on this movie. And then, you get like 5 years later after the fact, you're like, oh, this movie's aged horribly. It was probably not great to begin with, but I still like it. I still have a soft spot in the old heart for An American Werewolf in Paris. This is another one of those DVDs that I traded away years ago. Now I have it again. Thrift store. By the way, all these, unless otherwise noted, were $2. On that note, another one that I used to have, really liked it when it came out, Forces of Nature. Steve Zahn is in this. This is Sandra Bullock. This is Ben Affleck. Way before he was Batman, when he was just a young everyman actor. We all liked Ben Affleck because he was like us. He was super approachable. He was in Mallrats, and he was in Chasing Amy, and he was one of Kevin Smith's guys. And so we liked him because he was one of us. And this was one of his first flirtations with like leading man romantic comedy guy. And I liked this movie. I don't know, it's not great. It's certainly not a classic, but for what it was at the time that it came out, for guys my age, for girls my age, for people who were in their 30s, if you were around when this came out, you probably enjoy it because you remember what it was like. Like I said, Steve Zahn is in this another That Thing You Do guy. I love That Thing You Do. If I haven't, I don't think I've ever mentioned that on anything, but I am crazy about it. That's probably a top 5 movie for Heath. That Thing You Do, fantastic. Theatrical cut over director's cut, but the director's cut's good. Crazy about that movie. Now, you'll kind of see a theme. Here's a view from the top. Gwyneth Paltrow. You see all these, it's like the hot young people, the hot 20-somethings from 1998 to about 2003, 2004. See, you can tell what kind of collection these things came from. But it's let's see who all's in this. We got Christina Applegate, Gwyneth Paltrow, Christina Applegate, Rob Lowe. I'm a big Rob Lowe fan too. I like the Rob Lowe. And if I had any doubts about it, Parks and Recreation kind of solidified that Rob Lowe is a good dude. No stranger to controversy, but hey, none of us are, right? This is just a movie about being I guess now we would call it an air hostess, or a flight attendant. But back in the day, they would just call them like a hostess. It's good. It's another one of those. Like I'm kind of, I think I might be going down the Gwyneth Paltrow rabbit hole. Like I really like Gwyneth Paltrow, and I think I used to have a crush on Gwyneth Paltrow, and I wasn't aware of it until about 10 minutes ago. But I think I'm a fan of Gwyneth Paltrow, and I recognize that based on some of the things that she said in the last few years, she's probably not a great person, which is kind of hard to deal with, separate the work from the person. But I'm a fan, I think, and especially from this time period, late 90s, the whole Miramax, which like we don't even need to get into Miramax, but there was a time when Miramax was like our studio. It's like, yeah, Miramax is making the movies that we want to see. When I was young America and everything was geared to me, Miramax was awesome, and these kind of movies were geared to me. Mike Myers is in this movie, but it's like it's a different role for Mike Myers. Anyway, good stuff. Okay. Snake Eyes. Nicolas Cage, Brian De Palma directed this movie. If you haven't seen this movie, I'm not going to say it's great, because it's not a great movie, but it's really interesting. And there's a one shot. There's a like one shot camera move. Like the first, I don't even remember. It's like 10 to 15 minutes of the movie is all one shot. It's like a tracking shot. Goes into the stadium. There's like a boxing match. This is like a mystery that's centered around a boxing match. And it follows, like you go in the stadium, you go this way, you follow Nicolas Cage, and then it comes over here and you meet this person, and then you go down into the fight pit or the locker room, and then it's back up, and then it's this really interesting one-shot take that felt really cool at the time. I was still, whenever I see a one-shot somewhere, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And I hate to say it, but that's kind of the selling point for this movie. Brian De Palma, Scarface, Untouchables, he's a great director. And this, it's like I said, it's not a great movie, but it's interesting, especially for that one shot. Now, it had a DVD release in the late 90s. This DVD was released in 99. And I had it at one point, probably traded it for something ridiculous, like, I'm not even going to name anything because I'm going to hurt somebody's feelings, but that's not ridiculous. It's my favorite movie. Probably traded it for something that I got no enjoyment out of whatsoever. Pick this back up. Well, here's the thing. So I'm in the thrift store. I'm like, well, I'd rather have this on Blu-ray. There's cat hair everywhere. It's like, well, I'd rather have this on Blu-ray. Look it up. The Blu-ray's out of print, you guys. Like, it's gone. And time will tell, but given the state of physical media, I don't have hopes that there's going to be another edition for the Blu-ray. I will say this, there's a double feature with Snake Eyes and Face Off that, as of this video, as I'm recording this, is not yet super expensive, higher than it should be, but it's not out of the realm of feasibility. So if you're interested in Snake Eyes and you're not going to be happy with just a DVD, be aware, out of print. I picked up, same thrift store, the Buddy Holly story. Now, when you think Buddy Holly, don't you just think Gary Busey? Don't those go hand in hand? I saw this a long time ago. I haven't seen this in ages and ages, but this thing looks like it's never been watched. This was recently put out on a I say recently, in the last couple years, Twilight Time, which is one of those boutique labels who puts out limited run, like 3,000 limited print runs of movies, and then when they're gone, they're gone. They did a Buddy Holly story, and it's sold out. It's technically sold out, but it's still available for like secondhand market, eBay. I think Amazon even has some. You're gonna pay about $35, $40, something like that. I might even be able to find it for $25, but I don't think I'm willing to pay $25 for the Buddy Holly story starring Gary Busey. I remember liking it. I don't think it's worth $25. I don't know that it's worth $15 or $20. I feel like $2 is the nice price. And this will probably get me by. Now in the next Collecting at Midnight video, watch me have the Blu-ray. But I think I'm satisfied with what I've got. I picked up Rob Lowe. See previous comments about Rob Lowe. This is The Lowe and the Swayze. Same movie. I've never seen this. This was still sealed, had the wrapping on it. It came from Big Lots for $3, but I got it for $2. So it's worth a shot. I don't see how you could go wrong with Rob Lowe and Patrick Swayze. What year is this? This is 1986, so that's a sweet spot for me. I'm excited to have this added to the collection. I picked up... Okay, this, Detroit Rock City. There is a Blu-ray for this, and it's not that expensive, but I was standing there. I like this movie. I don't own this movie. $2. I was like, you know what? I'll pick it up for $2, and then if I feel like upgrading it, I can. That's one of the things that I feel like I should say on this channel. Is I try to say it when it comes up. Is I'm not necessarily a high definition snob. I have not gone 4K. I think I brought that up in my Collecting Physical Media in a Digital World video. Is that I have not gone 4K. I expect that I will. It has not been something that I've pursued because, frankly, I have bigger priorities right now. I have a kid that's, just life. Life is expensive, and I can't justify dropping, hundreds of dollars on a new TV, on a new Blu-ray player that's 4K. I'm not there yet. I will be at some point, I'm sure. But I can't justify buying 4K stuff right now. Saying that, what I'm trying to say is that I'm not necessarily... I like the best presentation possible, obviously. But it's more important to me to I'm more of a movie fan than a high def fan, because you can watch crystal clear, pristine presentations of movies all day long. But is that the point, or is the point watching the movie and getting something out of it and enjoying the movie itself? Because if you're paying more attention to how many pixels, whatever, than to screenwriting, cinematography, directing style, the performances that are being given by the actors, that just seems kind of backwards to me. So I'm more of a movie fan, and I will watch something on VHS if I have to, if I can see a movie, if it's accessible. That's really what it comes down to for me. That's what all this is about. It's about accessibility and being able to watch what I want to watch on my own terms, owning it. Not having to rent it or lease it from someone who has the control. Like, I realize that I do not technically own Detroit Rock City in some sort of a proprietary fashion, but I own this disc that I can watch whenever I want to. And DVD, it looks fine. Like, it's not the most beautiful thing in the world, but I'm of an age where Blu-ray now looks better than anything I've ever seen in my entire life. A Blu-ray presentation is cleaner than the theatrical experience as it has existed for my entire life. I've told this story before. I might have even been on the last Collecting at Midnight video. It was I Love Trouble with Julia Roberts and Nick Nolte, and the film had broken, and they had spliced it back together in the wrong order. And so I watched this movie, and it was like, the finale is about 2/3 in, and then there's another chunk, and it seems like it rewinds itself, like it's spliced back out of order, and I'm like, what is going on here? That's my experience. That's how things have been for me. So when I can watch, a DVD in my house on a 48-inch screen or a 55-inch screen or whatever, like, that's better than most of the theatrical experiences I have. So 4K is awesome, but I will get there. But it's more important to me to be able to own things and watch them on my own terms. And that's kind of what this channel is about. It's probably one of the 3 founding ideas behind Serial at Midnight is, owning the stuff that you love. Not just owning it physically, but owning it mentally too. Like, accepting that you love stuff, not having to apologize for it, just being you. So that's a long way to say that I picked up a DVD of something that's out on Blu-ray because I wanted accessibility to it. Now I can watch this whenever I want to. I like this. This is a Kiss movie. Kiss is in this movie. This is from, I think, 98 again, maybe? Let's see if we have a year back here. 99. So this is from the post-Psycho Circus makeup back on Kiss. It takes place in the 70s. It's fun. It's kind of in that Dazed and Confused vibe. Kind of got that thing going on. It's not as good as Dazed and Confused. Anyway, I picked up this sealed copy of It's a Mad, Mad, Mad. 3 Mads? 4 Mads. It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. This is one of the original road movies. One of those original like cross-country quests. And this is also on Blu-ray. I wasn't sure at the time. I thought it was neat because it's still sealed. And I was like, well, I can't turn this down. It's a Spencer Tracy movie. It's on Blu-ray. Amazon has it like right now for like $7.99. I might just pick that up and leave this in the packaging because there's something, I don't know, I haven't decided yet. There's something kind of cool about the idea of a DVD from, this is 2003, so a 15-year-old DVD still in its wrapper. I might just leave it that way. I don't know. I might just have it be a curiosity. I might not. Who knows? I picked up, this was not $2. This was 50 cents. This was Rescue from Gilligan's Island. I have the complete Gilligan's Island DVD set, and of course it does not have the reunion movies or the rescue movie. And this is the rescue movie. This is I guess this is the coda for the whole thing. So it's not good. Not even gonna lie about it. It's not good. But it is what it is, and for completionists, it's kind of essential. So for 50 cents, I was happy to pick it up. This is super cool. I'm a big fan of Oasis, or I was back in the day. Here in the 90s, I actually had an Oasis sticker on the back of my car. I was that guy. I had Oasis, I had Radiohead, I feel like there was more, but maybe I think I had a Blink 182 sticker on my back glass too. But loved Oasis, loved the whole Britpop scene. This is cool. I've been looking at this on like Amazon and stuff for a while, but I couldn't really pull the trigger. It's the album Definitely Maybe, and they have I guess the word that we would use now is curated images for you to watch while you're listening to the album. So it's got the album and uncompressed PCM sound. It's got these images that accompany the album. It's got what does it say here? We got exclusive to the DVD, an in-depth hour-long song-by-song documentary on the recording and the making of the album, live performances of every song on the album from early gigs and classic TV appearances, all the original Definitely Maybe promo videos with alternate versions and director's commentaries and hidden story strands throughout the DVD. Over 3.5 hours of content, and it was $2. It's like in the last collecting, I think it was the last Collecting at Midnight video I did, someone had turned in a Clash concert. They donated a Clash concert. Like, why would you do that? I just can't understand the logic behind some of this stuff. I think that's the majority. Yeah, that's the thrift store movies. I've picked up a lot of music too, thrift store wise, and not just retail. I picked up, again, something that I used to have. Well, that's more of a trend than I thought it would be, is confessing about things that I used to have that I don't have anymore, that I have had to rebuy, or that I have rebought. The Wonder Boys soundtrack. This was a really big deal. Wonder Boys was a Curtis Hanson movie. This is the guy that did 8 Mile and LA Confidential. Great director. Wonder Boys is the story of Michael Douglas is like I believe he's a literature professor, an English professor. He's written the Great American Novel. He's working on the Great American Novel. And he's kind of in a mode of crisis. And it's got Robert Downey Jr. in it, Iron Man. It's got Tobey Maguire in it, Spider-Man. Frances McDormand from Fargo and 3 Billboards outside of Minnesota. This album has some really cool stuff on it. It's got Buffalo Springfield. It's got Bob Dylan, Things Have Changed, which is one of my favorite. It's a great Bob Dylan song. Leonard Cohen, John Lennon, Van Morrison, Neil Young. It's a great soundtrack. And so I picked this up, $1, I believe. And I was really excited to have it back in the collection. And I was like, well, I'll have to pull Wonder Boys from the library and watch it again. I'm serious. I looked for that movie in the library for about 2 weeks. I'm not joking. I'd come up here while I was, whatever, just like drinking the soda or something. I'd come up here and I'd just look, and I would just look, and I would just look, and I couldn't find it. And I knew I had it because I love that movie, and there's no way that I was ever going to sell that movie. I would not have traded Wonder Boys in a 5-for-1 deal. It just wouldn't happen. So I was up here, and it was like day after day. I come up here, I'm upstairs, so I'd be brushing my teeth, and I'd come in here and I'd just be like, where is Wonder Boys? I realized that's terrible. I should not have done that with my hand. Oh, geez. Oh, no. Hopefully, that won't be the thumbnail. Finally, I found Wonder Boys. And it was like the bottom shelf in the back corner behind, there's some Funko stuff down there. There's like a Funko Jabba's Palace. And it was behind that in the very back corner. Last DVD against the wall. So, what have I learned from that? I've learned, one, that I really want to I really want to watch Wonder Boys. And it is now far more precious to me than it ever was before. But I have also learned that I have got to catalog my movies. And so that is a process that I will probably be beginning today after I finish recording this video, because oh my goodness, you guys, like to think you have something and to have such a big collection that you can't find it, that's a terrible feeling. That's like the worst of physical media collecting, is to know that you have something and not be able to put your hands on it, or to think that you have something and to not be able to put your hands on it. It's a bad feeling. So if I have all these things in a database, that will be a lot easier to do. And I'll even tell you, I'm going to use there's this company called CLZ, or I think they're Collectors with a Z instead of an S at the end. Collectors. And I use them for my comic book database software. They have these apps. That's a CLZ Comics, CLZ Movies. They have books. They have, what else do they have? They have music, which I'll probably have to do at some point too, because my music collection is beginning to eat me alive. But you can download the software for free, but I think you can only put in 100 entries. For some people, that's fine. So if you can keep track of 100 movies for free, that's great. But you can unlock the full version for $15 US, $14.99, and I think they might have done a Black Friday sale in the past. But it's totally worth it, and you can. It sorts everything by, with comics. So I have the comics. I haven't done the movies yet. I have the app on my phone. I've paid the $15. It's unlocked. I just have to do it, which is going to be a job. But with the comics, you scan the UPC. You use your camera on your phone to scan the UPC, and then it pulls it right up. And if there's more than one, you can choose from the options. And once it's in the database, you have it on your phone. You can also have the app on your iPhone or whatever, and it comes with a free cloud service, so you can upload your collection database into the cloud, which you can actually even access on a computer. I don't think you can modify it, but you can look at it. So if you have the app on your phone, you can look at it on your iPad, and if it's in the cloud, you just you upload your changes. If I'm on my iPhone and I upload changes to the cloud, next time I'm on my iPad, I can download the changes from the cloud, and I can keep everything current. And that would be super convenient, so that if I'm looking for Wonder Boys, I can look on my phone and I can say, yes, I have it. And you can sort things by, I know with the comics, you can sort by the talent, the writer, the director, the publisher. They're alphabetized. It's very intuitive. It's got a good smart search feature. So they're not a sponsor. I don't get anything from that, but I would recommend, if you're looking to catalog a movie collection, there are a few options, but I recommend Collectors CLZ, because they've been good to me in the past. It's worked out well. I've been using them for comics for years now, and I haven't had a single issue. I just see what I did. I haven't had a single problem. So music-wise, I picked up a ton of music. So let's get into that real quick. I found Bush, the first CD and the second CD. 16 Stone, Razor Blade Suitcase. I grew up, so I was a teenager. I was in high school when Bush came out. They will always have kind of a place for me. Both of these were $1. Hey, American Werewolf in Paris had a Bush song in it that I thought was super cool at the time. So that 90s music is always going to have a place. And I didn't have these, and now I do. So do you think these were $1? Somebody commented on one of my videos. It was the Greta Van Fleet video. They commented, who still buys CDs? Listen, I'm not walking around with like a Discman in my hand. But first, CDs sound great in a stereo system, like one of those things that you have connected to big speakers and a receiver. They sound fantastic. I have a 5-disc changer connected to my stereo system with a record player. I have a tape player, because tapes, again, ownership. It's about access, not necessarily the best quality. You go for the best quality, but access first and foremost. But then, secondly, you can rip CDs on a computer. So that's the first thing I do. When I get a CD, I bring it home, I slam it into my computer, I rip it at the highest bit rate that I can, and then I have the file to do whatever I want to with it. I have my music on my iPhone. I have my music on I still have an old solid state iPod, like the wheel, the click wheel iPod. I have a 150 gig iPod, and that thing still works. It's been like 8 years, and it still works, and I still use it all the time. I can stream my music digitally to, you do the Bluetooth. This is a key to getting the music off of here. It's going to sound better than a digital file. Okay, so if you buy a digital file from Amazon or from iTunes or whatever, most of the time it's going to be a variable bit rate. I rip at lossless quality, which is probably overkill, but I want the best quality that I can get for stuff that I already own. Like if I can get a CD for $1 and I can rip it at lossless quality versus paying $9.99 for an iTunes download that is variable quality, this is better, right? Like, who's going to argue that this is better? This is cheaper. I have the art. I can take it out. I can look at the book. I can look at the artwork. And then if something happens to that digital file, I have the hard copy right here. So that's why. Dude who said the comment about Greta Van Fleet, if you're watching this, I ain't mad at you. But that's why. That's why CDs. And I'll still buy vinyl too. But for where we live now, for the world we live in now, CDs, it's still the most convenient way to go. You're still going to get the most versatility out of a CD because you can pull the music off of it. You can do whatever you want to with it. And then you've got the hard copy forever. Or, until the layers just start to separate, which I have not had happen yet. People complain about, but I have not had that happen yet. I picked up the Pretty in Pink soundtrack. I think this is the only place where the where the single version of Pretty in Pink by the Psychedelic Furs, I think this is the only place you can get that song. I don't have a ton of experience with the soundtrack. I like the movie. I like the song Pretty in Pink. I had to pick this up. Dick Tracy, you guys. I freaking love Dick Tracy. When I was 11, I think, when Dick Tracy came out in movie theaters, and it was like my jam. I was convinced that it was the next Batman. I think I'm not the only one who was convinced that Dick Tracy was going to be the next Batman, and I think the studios thought that it was the next Batman too. Let me check my time here. Okay. And I loved it. I loved the comic book nature of it. It was like unapologetically comic booky. It had the big colors, the larger than life heroes. It's not great. It's also like tonally almost egregious because it's a Disney movie. It's kind of, on one hand, it's this over-the-top comic book, kid-friendly thing, and then you've got Madonna, who's like in a different movie. She's doing a whole different thing, practically half naked most of the time, in a PG movie. So much of that movie is amazing to me that it worked out the way that it did, and it's just, that's another video. Have to tackle that. It'll probably get its own video one day, but. There were two soundtracks. Well, there's this, which is the actual motion picture soundtrack. And I don't think this has the Madonna stuff on it. I believe it leaves all of Madonna's stuff off of it because she had her own album, which was I'm Breathless, which was her character, Breathless Mahoney. And all of her contributions to the movie are on that, including a beautiful duet with Mandy Patinkin. I can't say his name right. Mandy Patinkin. I've said the word and it has ceased to have meaning for me now. I'm like, Mandy Patinkin. It is a beautiful duet that takes place in the movie. And that's on that album. It's got some good stuff on there. And it's also got like some weird pop stuff that I don't really have a lot of use for. But it's a curiosity, and it pops up at thrift stores all the time. So if you're at a thrift store and you see that album and you like Dick Tracy, I'd recommend it. It's probably worth picking up. But this is good. This has Riding the Rails by Katie Lang on it. Pep, Vim, and Vigor. Like, if you've seen the movie and you like the music, it's like... it's got a lot of that kind of stuff on here. I did not own, and now do, Def Leppard's Greatest Hits. I don't know what else to say about it. It was $1, so... Jimi Hendrix, are you experienced? Why would someone donate this to the thrift store? Yet they did, and it is mine. It will be mine. Oh yes, it will be mine. This has Purple Haze on it, Hey Joe, Manic Depression, The Wind Cries Mary, Foxy Lady, Red House, like some of his best stuff on here. $1, I think. Okay, that's the thrift store stuff. So retail is where we're going now. I picked up the reissue of Led Zeppelin's How the West Was Won. These are songs that were discovered by Jimmy Page while he was researching the DVD that they made. In the early 2000s, Led Zeppelin put out a DVD. I think it's just called Led Zeppelin, the DVD. And it was live performances and stuff that they had done. Oh, I feel a burp. Don't do it. There are people watching. I picked up that DVD. It's cool, but the idea is that while he was researching that video, he came across a bunch of audio stuff that didn't have video for it, and it didn't have a home. It was like live performances from like 72, 73, stuff like that. And that's what this is. And they had put it out in 2003. This is the remaster. And I believe that the remaster was overseen by Jimmy Page. It's a cool collection. It's a 3-disc set. Beautiful production quality. Got a 25-minute version of Dazed and Confused. We've got a 21-minute version of Whole Lotta Love. Like, I love Led Zeppelin. I'm not super familiar with later Led Zeppelin. Most of the Led Zeppelin that I'm familiar with and that I listen to the most comes from those first 4 albums. So I'm not a diehard, but I do love Led Zeppelin, and this is good stuff. It's at a really good price too for the CD. The vinyl is like ungodly expensive. It's like $119 for the vinyl version of this. So again, CD versatility. You know, I can do whatever I want to with it. It's on all my devices. I can pop the CD into the stereo. I can back up the digital files. So that's why I got this. And then we're not going to spend too long on this because I recognize that this is probably super niche. But I have gone down a Deep Purple rabbit hole. And Deep Purple, classic rock band from the... I say classic rock. Some people say their first heavy metal band. So started with Shades of Deep Purple. This is their first album. This is the remaster, reissue. It's got bonus tracks on it. Hush. I'm not even going to hum it. Copyright. I'm not going to do it. Check out Deep Purple if you're into that sort of thing. Came out of the 60s, kind of that British, that psychedelic, navel-gazy. It had I don't even know what I would call it. It's rock. It's definitely rock, but it's got, it's almost like atmospheric rock. And they were really good at it. And Richie Blackmore was the guitarist. And they followed that one up with the Book of Taliesin, and then finally Deep Purple. And then after that, they really hit big with In Rock, which I don't have. That haven't made it that far yet. But I do have Machine Head, which was their... this is their breakthrough, I believe. And In Rock was... In Rock was really good. Machine Head is also considered probably their peak. I'm not sure. That's my opinion. Take that. That's on me. That's on me, y'all. Machine Head, probably their peak. It's the one that has the classic albums DVD. Like, they'll do those like classic albums. Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell, Beach Boys, Pet Sounds. Machine Head has its own classic albums DVD. I picked up Fireball by the guys. I picked up Made in Japan. Great band. Early, I would call it early heavy metal. Richie Blackmore's guitarist had this kind of Egyptian thing that he would do. It had this very like Middle Eastern Egyptian kind of a sound, and their guitarist had a classical background, so he was credited with bringing the classical element of music to hard rock. And so it's really cool. Like he would do like these Baroque organ solos and stuff, like that weird Baroque 1800s kind of organ thing, but in rock. And then in rock, Deep Purple in rock, and then Ritchie Blackmore would like replicate that on a guitar. Highway Star is a good example of that. It's got like this killer organ solo, and then Ritchie Blackmore does like the organ solo on a guitar. It's amazing. Smoke on the Water, they're the guys that did Smoke on the Water, which is probably, it's one of their most famous songs, and it's probably the least representative of what all they could do. But I've been listening to their greatest hits for years. It's the very best of Deep Purple. And one day it was just like, I was like, I need more Deep Purple. It just hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, Deep Purple, I gotta have more of this stuff. So I'm just working my way through their discography. And I'm telling you guys, like, this is the time to be picking up physical media, because these CDs are cheap. This was $3.99. I think $4.99, $3.99, and I think the reissues, these remasters with the bonus tracks, were $6 or something. I mean, you can't even go to McDonald's and get a combo meal for $3.99 anymore, I don't think. And if you can, this is going to be better for you. Music's going to be better for you than something from McDonald's. So I'm trying to pick up all this stuff while I can. I'm probably also about to go down a few other rabbit holes. There's Jefferson Airplane that I really feel underserved in my knowledge of. I'm a big 60s and 70s guy. I'm a rock guy, right? So, I mean, I listen to everything. I like 70s country, like Waylon and Willie and Johnny Cash and all that stuff. But I'm a rock guy. And so there's so many of these great people that I feel like I need to explore more, because I just don't have the knowledge for them that I wish I did. Jefferson Airplane is one. Who else am I thinking about going down? Again, I can't believe that just came out of my mouth. Who else am I thinking about further exploring their music? Love and Spoonful. Really like the Love and Spoonful. I got a Rascals Greatest Hits collection, and I think I want to take that further. The Rascals did it has completely left my head. Songs by the Rascals. They had several big hits. Sunday. It's gone, and this is embarrassing because I've been listening to it all week, and I can't even remember the name of the song. Rascals are great. Love and Spoonful, Jefferson Airplane. Who else? The Monkees. That's one. I love the Monkees, but I only know their hits. And there's a collection of the Monkees that's out now. That's been out for a while from Rhino, and it's their first 10 albums. And it's like $38. I think sometimes it goes up to about $45, $48, but right now it's like $38 for 10 CDs. So I need to get that and expose myself to some. So I need to get that and learn more about the Monkees. There's also, have you guys seen the Monkees Blu-ray box set that came out like 2 years ago maybe? It's the complete series of the Monkees TV show. But they did this weird packaging, because they always get creative with the packaging for these things. I don't know why. And they had they were like mini albums, and then like all these people pre-ordered it super expensive. It's $200. Like no discounts. I think there was a Black Friday discount, but most of the time no discounts. Not sold in retail. It's not in stores. I don't think it's on Amazon. It might be. I don't think it is. I think you have to get it from Rhino. And $200 for like 50 something episodes on Blu-ray. And they started shipping them out to the people that pre-ordered, which are going to be your diehards, because most people are not going to pay $200 for a series like that on Blu-ray. They're just not. That's not a good deal. I get that they probably had to because of a smaller print run, smaller demand. Anyway, they start sending them out to customers, and they're like banging through the packaging, and like people are getting they like open up the box, and this is like just in shambles. There's like holes in things, and like the corners are busted open. Discs are like hanging out of the package that they're supposed to be secured in. It was a disaster, and I think that they've kind of solved those problems. But here's the thing: they flaunted that release as a it was like the limited edition best of version that had a bonus disc with like TV appearances, concert footage, whatever, stuff like that, like for Monkees fans. And they were like, future releases of this box set will not have that bonus disc. But the problem is that they overestimated the demand of that set. I think they printed 6,000, and they're not moving. And so there's probably not going to be a future set because they can't even sell the ones that they have. And why would they? At $200 for a box set, $200 for a 10-disc set, when you can get Lost in Space for like $75 brand new, and you can get the Batman complete series of the 3 seasons of that show, 100 and something episodes, you can get that. I think that dropped to like 50 not long ago. $200, guys, like, I want to pick it up. I'm not going to spend $200 on a Monkees box set that's going to arrive damaged. So that's frustrating, and that's the thing. Like, I want that series so bad. I think it's good. When it comes on, like, sometimes I'll be flipping through the channels, and like it's on broadcast, like those weird channels that are like, you know, like retro TV or whatever, and they look terrible. Like, the transfers for those things look terrible. They look like they've been in somebody's trunk for the last 50 years. But the Blu-rays, they look amazing. They've been remastered, and they have all these cool new special features. So I'd like to pick it up, and I'd like to support it. But you guys, you know, not you guys, but the people that are making these, you got to meet us halfway. You got to help us out here. $200? No, nobody's going to do that. Other retail purchases. We're moving away from music now. Of course, I picked up The Last Jedi. I don't want to stir up controversy, but I'm going to do it. No. I'm a big fan of The Last Jedi. I think it is, when I saw it, I was convinced that it was just about perfect. I've backed off on that a little bit. I can see some things that it's probably a little bit longer than it needed to be. There are some decisions that, may be questionable. I'm not going to call anything out because it's not important. It doesn't matter. By and large, I think that this movie is challenging in all the right ways. What frustrated me about The Force Awakens, and I'm on record with this, you can go back fthismovie.net. I did a podcast, or I appeared on a podcast with Patrick Bromley talking about it, and I think I was the only one out of all the people that he talked to who was very hesitant on The Force Awakens, because I felt and I still feel like it's a good movie, but it doesn't do anything challenging. It doesn't break any new ground. It doesn't explore really anything. It introduces some new characters, and it doesn't really give them anything to do. It's like the first act, and I know that it's the first act of it, or the first part of a trilogy, but it's honestly like the first act of a movie. Like, it needed a few more acts to have more of a story. And then we find out after the fact, and this is pretty much confirmed, that the guys making the movie, J.J. Abrams, the executives at Disney, did not have a plan. They did not have a long-term plan. So when they ask questions like who Rey's parents are, when they're bringing this stuff up for the audience, like Snoke, who is Snoke, they didn't know either. They hadn't decided yet. And I don't think that's how you make good movies. I think that you need to have especially if you're going to be spending like $600 million, you need to have your beats mapped out. You need to know where you're going, what the arc is for this character, so that you can get there. How do you write a story if you don't know where your characters are going? That's like picking up a pencil and just starting to write, and then putting out the book that you're done with. You're like, this is the first of 10 parts. I have no idea what the other 9 parts are. I'll figure it out. That's not how you do that. That's not smart. I know that people do that, but that's not a good idea. And so The Last Jedi had a lot of challenges that it needed to address, and I think some of it was successfully done. I think some of it was not, but I love the commitment to change, the commitment to taking the Star Wars franchise into places that we haven't necessarily been before. That's what I'm trying to say. I think it's respectful to the Star Wars of the past. I think that there's a lot of stuff in here for prequels fans. I don't bash the prequels. I love the prequels. I realize they are far from perfect, but I love those movies. And I certainly love George Lucas's universe. And I think that Rian Johnson really tapped into that. And if you listen to his interviews, I know that it's been deemed like his apology tour. There might be something to that. I don't know how much was dictated to be like cleanup duty. But he had reasons for doing the things that he did. The story he wrote had very logical origins, and if you listen to why, like, decisions that he made, I'm not going to spoil anything, but like decisions that he made about certain characters, things, people that do certain things, people that stay on a certain planet, people that don't get involved, people that do this off screen, his reasons for doing those things, once I hear them, I can't argue with them. They make sense. That's good filmmaking. So I wanted Star Wars to go in some bold, different directions, because honestly, I have Star Wars. The Star Wars that I love the most is the original trilogy. It's episode 4, 5, and 6. And I have those. And when I want that vibe, when I want Star Wars, that's what I'm going to go to. But we need Star Wars that doesn't try to rehash certain things and that's going to boldly go into these different directions to push it and stretch it and grow it. At least that's what I think. And this movie does that. Does it probably a little longer than it needed to do it. And again, some things that I think if they could do them over again, they'd probably do differently. But I like this movie a lot. So I have this. I'm super excited to add it to the Star Wars collection. You know, check out our video if you haven't about my... I don't remember what it's called. It's like my crazy, weird Star Wars collection. I don't know. But I got a huge Star Wars collection, and this is going in it, and I'm excited about it. If nothing else, can we not agree that this puts Mark Hamill back in his rightful place as a star? Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, one of the best ever. And if you follow him on Twitter, like, he's so humble, and he's always, you know, telling dad jokes on Twitter. Like, how can you not love Mark Hamill? And for people who are afraid that we're not going to get a lot of Mark Hamill going forward, I think we're going to get a ton of Mark Hamill. I think that Mark Hamill's role is stronger coming out of this movie than it was in this movie. Like, he's in a better... Like, he can... Okay, if you haven't seen The Last Jedi and you don't want to be spoiled on anything, skip ahead like 10 seconds, okay? 10 seconds starting from now. Force Ghost Luke Skywalker can do anything. And they have been teasing in the novels or the behind-the-scenes stuff that the Yoda that makes an appearance in this movie is a tangible Yoda. He crossed over. What are we going to do with that? So going into the next one, sky's the limit. Super excited about that. I picked up, I say of course, you don't know. I like Jumanji. I picked up Welcome to the Jungle. It's a great movie, super fun. I also took that opportunity to pick up the original Jumanji on Blu-ray. You know what annoys me? This has a slipcase. This does not. So they go through all the trouble of having similar spine dress or whatever, and then no slipcase. So frustrating, you guys. Why Sony TriStar? Why would you do that? This may have had a slipcase. I got this from I think this came from bestbuy.com because it was dirt cheap. It was like, I think it went down to $9.99, and I had a $5 reward certificate, and I think I got it for $5. So it might have had a slipcase, and I just didn't get one. But that's kind of not good. It's getting nerdy, you guys. I picked up this. I didn't even know this existed. I knew that Mark Hamill talked about this at Celebration last year. So the last Celebration, I think, that he had been doing the Joker for Justice League Action. And I was like, oh, that'll be cool to check out when it comes out. And I never heard anything else about it. But I stumbled upon this in stores. And this is Justice League Action Season 1. Oh, that is too bright. Season 1, Part 1. And it's the first 26 episodes of Justice League Action. They're about 11 minutes apiece, so the emphasis really is on the action. There's not a ton of, excuse me, there's not a ton of character. There's character. There's not a ton of like sitting around having conversations. The focus is on action, and it really feels to me like somebody took Bruce Timm's Justice League cartoon, the Batman the Animated Series, the Superman the Animated Series, and the Justice League Animated Series, that Bruce Timm world, and put it in a blender with Super Friends from the late 70s and the early 80s. And that is incredible. That is amazing. This show is like, they're like Pringles. You just like, just one after the other. I love it. It shows like a lot of the DC universe, things that we haven't really gotten much of in other shows. So we have like Shazam, Billy Batson. We have and what's cool is that the stories kind of, they're not necessarily dependent on each other, but they flow into each other. So there is an overall arc. You look at the whole thing back to back, you watch them, they're connected. They're telling a bigger story. They stand on their own, but they tell a bigger story. And that's really cool. So I think that this series is being done perfectly. Like, I could not be happier with it. As much as I love, more grown-up stuff, I believe in the fun aspect of superheroes. You give me a choice between Watchmen and this, I'm going to take this because I want to have a good time. I love Watchmen. I'm not putting that down, but I'm just saying, like, as far as like, it makes me feel good about things. It reminds me of how I felt when I was a kid, playing with my action figures, my Super Friends action figures, and it has that feel. It's like a modern version of Super Friends, and it works so well. And they didn't, I can tell this is, again, this DVD. Like, I wish this was a Blu-ray, but maybe if these sell well enough, we'll get an opportunity for a Blu-ray down the road. They put very little effort into this. The menus are just like a red screen with the text of the titles of the episodes. Like, very, very minimal effort. This is like just put it in Walmart and see if anybody notices it and picks it up. Again, this is Warner Brothers Animation. Why do these things just show up in stores without any pomp and circumstance, without any fanfare? It's like the Scooby-Doo Batman Brave and the Bold movie that I reviewed. They just show up. There's no advertisements. There's no commercial. And I guess they're not going to advertise like a commercial. They're not going to do like a TV ad campaign. But when I look at the ads, which I do every Sunday morning, I'm looking at Best Buy, I'm looking at Target. No one's interested in promoting these things. They're not like, new this week, Justice League Action, Season 1, Volume 1. It doesn't show up on the DVD sites that I frequent. I feel like there's no hype about this stuff whatsoever. But I will tell you that Season 1, Part 2, I believe gets released in May. It's up for pre-order now. It's like $10. Highly, highly worth it. I mean, I'm sad, and that's part of where this is coming from. Like, I'm sad that shows like this don't get more they don't get more love. They don't get more hype for kids. DC does a great job of hyping. Well, Warner Brothers does a great job of promoting things like Gotham by Gaslight, the upcoming Batman Ninja animation. I know all about that. Everybody's talking about that. Why are we not talking about this? This is really cool. So that's a lot of sermons today. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be so preachy about stuff. This is my opportunity to vent. I like to stay positive, but certain things you got to vent about. Try to vent responsibly. So this is the last thing. This is the last thing I'm going to talk about in this video. There's a show that's been around for about 20 years that I just didn't have a lot of exposure to. And I knew what it was, obviously, because it's a part of our society. But I always was like, that's not for me. And then one day, like Deep Purple, it just hit me. And I was like, oh, it's the best thing ever. Why have I lived all of my 30 plus years and not been a fan of SpongeBob? How have I made it this far in my life without being like a fan of SpongeBob? I knew what it was. Obviously, like I've been around kids who like SpongeBob. My daughter never, like, apparently she watches it at her dad's house or something. It's been on a few times in the house, and I've, again, I was aware of it, but I never sat down and really given it my attention. And then one day, I was like, wait a minute. Hey, wait a minute. This show is done by adults who like a lot of the same things that I like. They like surf culture, beach movies, subversive humor. It's all in here. It's very, like, I'm telling you, like, you don't know what SpongeBob is. So what appeals to me about this is it has the same sense of naughty fun without being really naughty. It has the same sense of, it's just subversive. It's kind of subversive, but it's not bad. It's not egregious. No one's getting hurt. It's mischievous. That's what it is. It has the same sense of mischievous fun from like Ren and Stimpy. Why am I so full of air? Hot air. Full of hot air. Remember that when you watch these videos, I'm full of hot air. It has the same sense of mischievous fun that a lot of the shows that I grew up with in the late 80s and the 90s, even like the Ghostbusters, like the real Ghostbusters series, it has that like that winking, like there's more going on here if you're paying attention than kids are going to pick up on. But more than that, like, I just think this is really fun. So I picked this up. This is the first 100 episodes, which equates to the first 5 seasons. And I can now mark my life. I was telling my wife, I can mark my life before SpongeBob and after SpongeBob. I don't even know what else to say. Like, it's a little embarrassing. It's actually a lot embarrassing that I'm not embarrassed of liking the show. I'm embarrassed that I didn't like the show before now. And I'm embarrassed that I hadn't never watched it and I couldn't tell you anything about it. So that's, hey, I'm always honest. Oh, hey, you want to talk about Toys R Us real quick? We could do that really quick. I got one other thing over here that I could show you. If you want to, if you want to talk about Toys R Us, like, it's a bummer, right? I did my Toys R Us goodbye video. Wasn't planning on it, but my daughter wanted to go to Toys R Us with her friend. It was her birthday, and she wanted to go to Toys R Us, and the rumors about the closings had been going around, but nothing had been announced. They were still trying to get out of it from what I had heard. And so she said, can we go to Toys R Us? I have my birthday money. I want to go shopping. I was like, yeah, we can do that. And then like that week, I'm hearing, guys, this is probably the last week for Toys R Us before the going out of business sales. I was like, oh man. So I just took my phone out while I was there and I started to film. I just walked up and down the aisles as if I would not be back there again. And that was Saturday. And I think Monday, it was Tuesday of the next week, they had gone for their bankruptcy hearing or whatever, and were given the go-ahead to do the going out of business sales at all the stores. So then the next weekend, she wanted to go back, and we went back, and of course, going out of business signs everywhere, sale signs, clearance signs. People are snatching things up like it's free, like they're rioting. They're looting, it's crazy. It was 10% off, which is nothing. Like, 10% off, and people are like pulling this, like pulling all the stuff into their carts. Where are we at on time? Oh snap! And so that's I was really glad at that point that I had gotten that footage of my Toys R Us just like 3 days before everything started to hit the fan, before all the going out of business signs and all that stuff. And so we can go back, I think this is the second week of clearance as I record this, and we can go back, but it's even going back the weekend after that, it wasn't the same. It felt different. It felt cheaper, honestly. I don't mean price wise. I just mean like it felt a little dirty and kind of gross, because people, not the location, but the atmosphere, because people were just like, climbing all over everybody. It was like Black Friday or something. It was weird. So I'm glad that I was able to go and capture it one last time. I only bought one thing when we went back on the clearance sale. I got this 10% off, which I'm excited about. They had the mystery machine too. It was $25 for a plastic mystery machine, and then it was 10% off of that. And I just couldn't do it. Maybe I'll go back again. I don't even know that they'll still be there, the mystery machines, because the way people were yanking things off the shelf, it was like, it was a 70% off sale. Like, oh my gosh. The unfortunate truth about Toys R Us is that they were overpriced for a long time. They weren't competitive. I picked this up really just out of sentimentality, I guess. They weren't, I understand that behind the scenes they were saddled with debt from the company that bought them, and so they couldn't really afford to be competitive because they had to pay off their creditors or their debtors. And that is ultimately what is one of the nails in the coffin, and that's a bummer. That's terrible. It really stinks. So I understand why they're going away, but I hate that they're going away, because there is nothing comparable to Toys R Us, at least not where I live. There are other toy stores. They're talking about KB coming back at holiday time. That's not the same. It's not the same as Toys R Us. It's a shame. I know it's a corporation, but for so many of us, I can't remember a time in my life without Toys R Us. When I was a kid, I was in there about once a week. Even when I was driving, going to high school, into college, I would still go about once a week. I would go in there and see what was new on the action figures, the new Star Wars figures as they were coming out, the Power of the Force 2 stuff. It was a huge part of my life, and it's only been in the last 5 or so years that I've really not been going that much, like 4 times a year, because unfortunately there's not a lot of need to. Or there wasn't before they went out of business or announced their bankruptcy. You could get everything else cheaper at other places. You could go to Amazon, you could go to Walmart and it was cheaper. Target was cheaper. They weren't competitive. And now here we are, and there will be no Toys R Us, and it's just a shame. And it makes me wonder, was I doing everything I could do to support them? I wasn't. So I feel a little bit bad about that. But well, now I've got us like all bummed out right here at the end. Is there anything happy to talk about? What do you guys think about the? I figured we could just like rotate out like fun little stuff on the side. This is the set. Do like rotating set pieces in the background. Just keep it interesting. So yeah, I don't know if you can see not Godzilla, King Kong back there. I don't know if he's showing up or not. Guys, I think that's it. I think that's all I got. So thanks for watching this video. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. All that stuff. Cereal@midnight.com. If you really want to help this channel, help the community, what I would recommend you do, please do. What I would ask you to do is just to share it. If you're part of a message group, or if you're part of a forum, like if you're in a physical media forum. I know that's how people have come to these videos, is people have told them about it in chat rooms and in chat rooms. Is that even a thing? People have told them about it in like what are those things in ICQ group chats, and they've talked about it in oh my gosh, what's that thing that people used to do? I'm tired. It's kind of tiring to talk for an hour and 10 minutes. Share it if you can. If you want to spread the channel, if you want to help other people discover it, which I would really appreciate. Share it. Just mention it on Facebook or share it on Twitter. Just share the videos. Share links to the videos. I would appreciate it so much. I appreciate you guys already. Thank you for so much that you do. I love the community that's forming around Serial at Midnight. I love that we can talk about this stuff respectfully. We can disagree respectfully. We can talk about, what's working, what doesn't work. We can complain about freaking Jumanji slipcases, and I know you understand what I'm talking about, and you're not going to be like, it's just a slipcase. It's a piece of cardboard, dude. Substitute dude for something that's a 4-letter word that I'm going to have to go in and delete later, because hey, that's the thing, like, I love the sense of community that's forming around this. Every now and then I'll get some really lewd comments, and if you're watching this video and you're thinking about leaving a really nasty comment, I'm going to delete it as soon as you do. I'm fine with disagreeing about things, but if you're dropping curse words, like, this is relatively family friendly. This is PG to PG-13, and there's no place for name calling, gatekeeping, hate speech, nothing like that. This is a fun place to just be geeky about things, to talk about physical media, to talk about Blu-rays and collecting and all that stuff. So guys, thanks again. Please share this. Thanks for being a part of the community. Join in the conversation. Anything that you that caught your attention in this video that you want to talk about, let's talk about it. That's what these videos are about. I have a lot of focused videos, like I just did a Robert Johnson video. I'm super proud of that. If you haven't watched it and you want to hear about one of the most interesting legends of rock and roll and the blues, like, watch my Robert Johnson Crossroads video. I'm so proud of it. But that's not the place for hanging out and just shooting the breeze. That's what this is for. And this is honestly this what we're doing right now. This is my favorite. It is. This is what I want this channel. This is the base of what I want this channel to be. This is where I can just be myself. I can use funny voices. I can vent about things, and we can just talk. We can have conversation. So thank you. Thank you for watching this. Thank you for giving your time to this. I appreciate it so much. So until next time, I will catch you later.